creating an audio asset is really straightforward. Let me reduce this a little bit, shrink my window down just so you can get the full view. There we go. So if you remember, I had a wave sound, a dot wave. On Windows and OS X, dot wave is the format, the audio format that's currently supported. On an iOS device, like an iPad, you can actually stream and play MP3s. And that unfortunately is not available on Windows and OS X due to licensing issues. And in the future, it's possible that Torque2D will be updated so that it can use other compressed streaming formats. So for now, just for this, we have a simple WAV file. And I'm going to create inside of the audio folder a new TAML file. And this time I'll make sure to use the asset extension. So this is my title, music. And this is an audio asset type. And there's my audio asset. So what are the fields for audio asset? Well, I just need something really basic. So I'm just going to get the asset name. And I'm going to point to the file, which is audio file. And something really important worth noting is, let's close this off real quick. When you're defining a raw image file, such as a .png, a .wav, or even pointing to an asset, another asset file, when I'm putting an audio file, I'm not using a path of any kind. I'm just saying it's my title music wave. And that means that the definition of this asset is inside of the same folder as the raw audio file. And it is possible to do pathing. You could actually use what are called expandos in TorqueScript if you wanted to, or expandos in the engine. But I'm keeping it simple. There's a reason I organized these folders the way I did. So I can just create the asset and say the raw file, the loose file you're pointing to is in the same directory. Okay, let's see, no violations that I can see, which leads me to believe my XML is structured properly, and TAML should be able to load it. Yeah, so I guess we need to play this. Let's see. On reset, I need to use some functions. The ALX, basically open AL. If there are other sounds already playing, let's stop them all. And then I want to play my assets. I'm going to pass the asset ID. Remember, there's a difference. There's the asset name, and then there's an asset ID that's the module and the asset name together. And just because of the way audio works, it'll persist. When I go to destroy, I'm also going to stop playing the music. Now, I'm not sure if my video recording software is going to grab the internal audio. As I play this, I'll be able to hear it, and maybe the microphone will pick up on it, but you have to trust me when I tell you if it worked or not. So let me hit play. And I have audio successfully playing. Hopefully it shows up in the video. If not, then I'll try and record another video of it playing. If I restart the toy, the audio should restart. And it's not looping, so I'm not getting multiple audio sessions playing, because I'm always calling ALX stop all. So it should only happen. And in fact, if I switch out to say another one, like Flip Toy, my audio has stopped. Alright, that's good. So audio asset was really quick to create. Just to recap, it's an audio asset type, and use an asset name like all assets do. And instead of an image file, I have an audio file field, and it's pointing to this WAV file. And that covers the very basics of creating an audio asset and playing it. Right then, image assets complete, animation assets complete, and audio assets complete. That leaves one last asset type that I said I would cover, and that's the particle assets. And I'm saving it for last because it's going to be the lengthiest. It's going to be error prone because we're going to be filling out a lot of fields for this. Rather than a lengthy build-up, let me just go ahead and create. This will be my square particles, and this is a particle asset. This is where the scheme is really going to save my skin. I'm going to have to make a lot of room for this. A lot of fields to fill out here. So a particle asset will be used by a particle player. Instead of a sprite, I'm going to have a particle player. It's going to consume this, and it's going to use the particle information to show some really nice effects. Now, the particle I'm going to create is very basic. It's not going to look pretty, but it is going to be a proper emitter. Now, like all assets, as I mentioned before, bare minimum, I need an asset name. And it's going to be called square particles. This is what I'll feed to my particle player. This is where it starts getting a little more interesting. A particle asset is going to have children. And those children are particle asset emitters. And inside of there, it gets even deeper, where a particle asset emitter has its own fields. So let me just try and get this popping up. I actually need to close this off. Get rid of that. Look at that, beautiful. Particle asset fields and particle asset emitter. And a particle asset can have multiple emitters, and that's what's doing real magic. So I'm going to create particle asset emitter. Just try and do my best to make it look fancy. Each emitter name, or each emitter can have its own name. And this is going to be, this emitter is called moving squares. And it does take in an image much like an animation does. And let me double check the name of that. Squares image. And again, just like in XML, I'm going to be careful and close these off properly. And the next part is, well, I'm not getting many suggestions right here. And I have to think, okay, what's going on here? Well, particle asset emitter has its own fields. So as soon as I start typing here, that's when I get my auto-completion. Alright, so I have fields, or the emitter has fields. I personally don't have them. And inside of here, I'm going to start filling these out. This is where you start adding in data keys. And data keys will be assigned to a property, or assigned to a field, and it's going to tell me what the value of that particular field is at a certain time. So let's do something really simple. The quantity is a good one. Oh, I need to get this closed off at the right spot. There we go. These are my particle fields. And you see, I'm not getting things like, oh heck, I'm not getting things like sprite or image map or image asset or anything. This is specifically wanting, for instance, quantity. And inside of a quantity, I would have a key. And a key is really basic. It's not going to have sub-elements, so it has a time and it has a value. And now I've successfully added a single field on my particle asset emitter, which is named moving squares, which is part of my particle asset named square particles. And I'm just going to keep filling this out, basically to create kind of a growing square that's a little transparent. So quantity variation is also going to have a key. And I'm just going to keep typing and typing, and hopefully we should have a proper one working after this.